Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is where we talk about all things cozy, low spend living, books and personal curriculums. Like so many of you, I've jumped into the personal curriculum trend and it's been amazing. I have learned so much already and I'm only midway through my September curriculum. If you haven't watched my previous videos on my August curriculum and also on my September curriculum, do have a look because I have some tips in there on how to form your curriculum and what's been working for me and what hasn't been working. So I feel like this video is almost like a little study breakout room and we're kind of focusing down on one area of my personal curriculum. There has been a natural evolution of how I've been using notebooks to record what I've been learning and using a mix of digital and analog ways to record my thoughts, record the media I've been consuming, and just in general keeping track of everything I've been doing. So in today's video, I wanted to talk to you about Filofaxes through the lens of personal curriculums. I am quite new to Filofaxes, so as I always say here, this is a community space. I'm here to learn and I'm just here to show you what I've been enjoying and what's been working for me. But there is something really tactile, there's something really calming and grounding and something that just works really well for my brain and my thought patterns in returning to analog pen and paper approach. So of course you don't need to spend big money and get a Filofax. You can do this in any notebook that you have. This isn't telling you to buy things, or if you are buying, there is cheaper entry point levels for the Filofax. I obviously have just gone for the letter because that's just kind of what I'm used to seeing, and I feel like my mother is someone who's like, buy once but buy well. I'm very much aware that there is a full community here on YouTube and online in general that have been loving ring binders and planners for years and years and years. And the peak time of the Filofax was the 1980s. I was born in 1991, so I am quite aware that this is not something new and I'm not trying to present it as something new. It's more so how I'm using the Filofax versus how I thought they were used. Just to say that I have dove down the rabbit hole. I've been watching planner videos non-stop on YouTube and I found some amazing creators. I will link some of their videos below just in case you're interested, because as I said, this is a new journey for me and I'm definitely not an expert. And I would say that my Filofax approach is a little bit more of a mix of like creative journaling / actual planning / actual tracking. And I think that's why I personally do like it. I don't know if this is an Irish thing or a European thing, but when we were in school, we got given a notebook and it was a homework journal, and basically it was like a diary. So they were essentially training us to have planners in our adult life, and it only occurred to me now, but usually the notebook would be about the size of this Filofax, which is the personal planner size. I was kind of thinking about this as I'm only in the second month of doing my personal curriculum, and I was like, it would be good to have somewhere that's not for brainstorming, but more so to keep track of what am I learning, what do I want to learn. I feel like the way my brain works is that I like to have a spatial place to put information in. So I feel like the notebooks that I've shown you in my previous videos are more so for actual brainstorming. What I found then was I was like, okay, I don't really want to have a notebook for each subject or each module, especially because my modules will change as the months and seasons go on. So I kind of was doing a little bit of research on YouTube and that led me down the Filofax rabbit hole. And this is the personal size and it's the duck egg blue colour and it's real leather. So I got it for about, I think, €50 instead of €100. So that's quite good. Not too sure what that is in dollars. I feel like we pay more here, maybe. I'm not too sure. So this is where it all started. And as you can imagine, it is a slippery slope. And then I ended up buying one from Vinted, which is this one here. And this is the pocket size planner. And then I saw more videos. There's one particular creator who I will link, who I would say is 80% responsible for me buying this little mini planner here. I will give you a bit of a show and tell of how I'm using them. As I said, this is brand new to me, so like the planners are very much a work in progress and they're not entirely where I want them to be. In particular, the pocket one here, just because I bought this secondhand, show you what I have been doing, how I'm using the notebooks and how they're benefiting me, not just for the personal curriculum but in terms of my day-to-day life as well. And yeah, you definitely don't need 3 Filofaxes. Like, this is just me going down the rabbit hole, but I will say that they do all serve a different purpose and it's nice to have different size ones. For me, one of the massive reasons that I've fallen in love with analog planning and just note taking in general is that it's a less overwhelming feeling than having to go onto a computer, start typing. I feel like that's almost like the finished document, whereas I feel like with analog, especially pencil, a normal HB pencil, I used to use these in primary school, which is elementary school here in Dublin. In Ireland, we weren't allowed to use pen because we had to learn how to write properly first. So this was the pencil that I learned how to write with. Not the actual pencil, but the style of pencil. So what I'm going to do is show you my version of a homework journal for the personal curriculum. The key thing with the homework journal is that, first of all, I've drawn it all out in pencil, and that means that nothing is permanent. I can change and move it around as I see fit. I have basically done a box by box grid approach. Everything's in pencil and each box represents a different module. On my front page, I basically have a field note section for September. So the only field note that I have written down here so far is EDC, so everyday carry items, and minimalism. So that's something that's been coming up for me that I want to look more into. Also, this is some of my creative journaling, don't judge me. As I was saying, I have a box for each subject. So I have the artist's way, and here I have a tracker where basically I colour in every day that I have done my morning pages. You can see basically here that Monday, Tuesday is my office days, and I don't typically do morning pages on those days just because I have to get up earlier, get ready, all that type of thing. So it just doesn't really work for me, which is fine. And then I also keep track here of my artist dates. Next, I have one for Writers 101. This is my module about learning more about the craft of writing. And if you have watched my other videos, you will know that I have a whole pile of books that I want to read for this. So at the moment I'm reading Everybody Writes, and I have taken some notes about this in my traveller's notebook, which I'll probably do a different video on, but I've put a top level note here saying that I'm finding it snappy and insightful, useful for work, and it's mentioning my other Writers 101 picks, which includes Bird by Bird and Writing Down the Bone. Then I'm also reading Bird by Bird by Lamott, and I just have funny and down to earth here, so that's kind of the vibe that I'm feeling for that. Obviously I will have more in detail notes, but this is just a very top level sort of homework journal approach. So next I have my little box here, and this is for the note taking and journal ecosystem module, which is what this video is all about. So I have here 3 Filofax set up. I have my mini, which is the little black one, is for on the go. It's my wallet, and it's for like on the go money tracking. So basically, because I am saving for a house, I am just being quite strict on my spending. It's not that I'm not spending money, but it's just that I'm being very intentional about how I spend my money, and I just think that's a trait that I want to continue with even when I am in my house and all that type of thing. So basically I have my mini for my on the go. I have my pocket as my master tracker list, a master to-do list, and the pocket is kind of like my rough paper one, and that kind of worked out well for me because, as I was saying, I got the pocket one secondhand from Vinted. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, but I didn't get any paper with it. I got a few dividers and that was it. And then I have the personal, which is this one here. I have a YouTube tracker in here, like a master tracker, bigger sort of breakdown of my plans month by month. This one basically is bigger picture, whereas I feel like the pocket is more on the go as it's happening, and then the mini is more so just very much an inbox, as in It's pocket size, it's teeny tiny, it's my wallet. Another really handy thing about the mini size is that it is so small, it's literally like the size of a purse. And I've gone old school and I've started to add everyone's phone numbers and birthdays into this. So it just means that if something happens with my phone, I will have all that here. And you have the big trifold piece of paper here that you can put everyone's birthdays or whatever you want month by month here. Continuing to show you the homework journal approach, I have here my physical media box. So I've been keeping track of things I've bought or things I've consumed. So I did get a really good charity shop DVD haul there last week, so I'll probably do an entire video on that, to be honest. I got 2 new vinyl records from Bright Eyes, which I was so happy to get because I love Bright Eyes. If anyone listens to Bright Eyes, you have to let me know, because I feel like nobody does in Ireland, but maybe in America they're a little bit more popular. I got a secondhand MGMT CD off Vinted for €1, which I'm going to leave in my boyfriend's car because he has a CD player there, so that'll be fun. And I've just been watching more Grey's Anatomy, and I bought more of those DVDs secondhand from Vinted as well. So then I have a little note section here, so this is where I can capture anything that I might want to look into for my October curriculum. And then moving on to this side, also this is a ruler from a different notebook, but it had the little binder insert part, so I've just put it in here, but it doesn't entirely fit because it's not actually a Filofax ruler. So then I have reading, so I have The Dream Home. I finished reading that. That was one of my just for fun books. It was fiction. I gave it 2 stars and I wrote disappointing, and it was disappointing. I'm sorry if you enjoyed it, but I just thought it was like dreadful, like really dreadful. I don't think those family domestic thriller books are for me at all. But anyway, I just have my little one-liner review. Then I have Wuthering Heights, surprisingly funny and feels more contemporary than I expected. So again, that's just a in the moment thought. Obviously it's a classic for a reason, and of course, you know, you don't need me to tell you that's a good book, but it's just more so capturing my thoughts. Next I have media, so this is more so where I'm capturing any films or documentaries that I am watching. So it's more so what I've watched rather than what I've bought. So over here, the physical media is more so what I've bought, whereas media here is more so capturing what I've watched, what I've consumed. Most of these I've actually gotten from the library. So we watched, so I don't know if you've watched my other videos, but I was saying I was doing family movie night. So I've basically been getting the DVD player out and watching films with my parents, which has been really nice. So a couple of weeks ago we watched Children of the Corn from 1984, so the original one. And I just have in brackets here comedic because I found it quite funny. I can definitely see where films have paid homage to that movie, in particular Weapons, which came out this year. Some of the scenes were very similar to Children of the Corn, in my opinion, particularly where the children are running. So it was cool to kind of see that parallel. Next we have Pet Sematary, and it was actually the 2019 remake that I got, and I wasn't crazy on it. I actually wanted to pick up the original, but unfortunately I did get the wrong one from the library, which is fine. We watched Blade Runner. We actually watched that last night, and that was the 1982, the original movie, and I've just written here, amazing. I wish I had watched this movie sooner, and it's interesting because when I was studying for my creative digital media degree, one of the modules we had allowed us to watch Blade Runner and answer some exam questions on it. I chose to do Mad Men instead. I don't regret it. I feel like maybe it would have been wasted on me back then, but I loved it and I would definitely watch it again, and I can really see how it's informed the plots of so many other movies and books, so that was really interesting. And although the special effects are a little bit dated, I do think they were very good for the time, and I think the concept of the movie is still really good, so definitely recommend that if you haven't watched it. We have a box for my Magic and Delight, and if you have watched my other videos you will know that this isn't necessarily a module in itself. It's more so a creative class. It's the type of class that you would have done in school and you would have gotten A for participation. There is no pressure here. It's more so it's on the list to ensure that I do take the time to do these fun creative things, and it's not all just about having to read dense books, because I do think a mixed approach is what works best best for myself and what works best for most people. So I've really just been keeping track of all the magic and delight that I have been enjoying for the past month. So I did a trip to the National Gallery with my boyfriend in Dublin, and that was absolutely amazing. I took some footage, so I might insert some of that here, but I would definitely recommend going to an art gallery. And I don't really know anything about art, but I had the best time ever, and I actually picked up some postcards in the gift shop for my Filofaxes, which I will be inserting as a little divider. Made a note of that in my Filofax as well, so it's really nice to look back because they're little moments, but at the same time you can easily not appreciate all those little moments that you've had the joy of experiencing month on month. So it's nice to have it all here. So then I have that I rearranged my DVD storage. So as I was saying, I've been getting really into DVDs. I've been thrifting most of them from charity shops, so secondhand shops. It's thrifting in America, just so you know what I'm talking about. And I've actually rearranged them and put them that they're like nearer to my TV, whereas I had them up in a cupboard. So that in itself has been great because it just means it's a lot more easier to grab a DVD and watch something. Next, I have a rework of Filofax layout, so I will be showing you this in this video, but I've really been enjoying playing around, learning how to hole punch. I bought a guillotine, I've been cutting paper, like I've been going all in on the Filofax. So that surprisingly has become such a magic and delight thing, whereas like this time last month I didn't really know anything about Filofax. So I just feel like that's an example of how the personal curriculum can lead you down a path of your creative breadcrumbs, and you don't even know what's out there until you start to kind of like follow your own curiosity trail and see where you end up. Next I visited a film shop, so this was like a little like movie gift shop attached to the IFI cinema here in Dublin. So it's kind of like an independent cinema. It would have a lot of international films, and it just would show old films, new films, a mix. But in this shop it's like all DVDs like from around the world, old movies, new movies, animated movies. So it was really nice to go in there, and it was actually my dad that recommended to go in there, and they did have really nice postcards as well, but I didn't buy any. And then another thing that I did was I went to the charity shop, so the thrift shop if you're American. I went looking for some jewellery that I could upcycle into little charms for my Filofax. So I found this beautiful charm bracelet, and I will insert a clip because I don't think you'll see it if I hold it up. But basically my mum has jewellery pliers because back in the day she used to make jewellery. So this charm is actually from a secondhand, I don't know, can you see that? This charm is actually from a secondhand bracelet, so I took it off, and the links are from the bracelet as well. So I've attached that to the zip, so I have this beautiful charm, and some of the other charms are really delicate and pretty as well. So there's a link between the Filofax and the Magic and Delight, and the Filofax and the homework journal. So that's how for me I have just been fully obsessed. Back page I have a space for my September reflections, which I will fill in when the month ends. So it's really only over 2 pages, but it's such a nice way to have like a snapshot capture of what was coming up while I was in the moment of doing the personal curriculum. Because, you know, I do have a personal journal, but that's more so for like emotions and how I'm feeling. And then I have my traveler's notebook, which I have morning pages in, and I have some notes from books. So I feel like this is a way for me to kind of have a sort of thought process on paper approach. So it means that like when I am planning for my October curriculum, I'm able to see it, like what came up for me in real time, and it's a way that it all lives in one place. Because I feel like sometimes digitally we can write notes in our notes app or whatever, and without having that context and a little bit of structure, when you come back to it, it can make little to no sense, and you're just like, what is this random thought? So I feel like being able to have it all in one place has been really, really helpful for me, and it gives me a peace of mind that when I write something down, it's not like a thought lost forever. I could potentially do something with it, or I could potentially do nothing with it, because obviously there is no pressure, but it just means that I have that freedom, that I know that it's living there safely. So if I need to do something with it at a later date, it exists there. I haven't lost it. Another reason why I've been loving my Filofax ring binders is just that it gives me focused time, dedicated time to step away from my phone, step away from the laptop, and literally just put pen to paper and do my own planning. And I have touched on this in my other videos, that I think it's so important that we spend time with ourselves and we really connect deeply with ourselves to figure out what do we want, as opposed to what do we think we want based on looking at other people's social media or YouTube videos. To have the freedom within a ring binder to move the pages around. Like, for example, when I was planning this video, I had some ideas on a piece of paper at the back of my Filofax and some on the front, and if that was a traditional notebook, I'd have to be like flipping between the two pages on two different parts of the notebook, whereas I was able to literally just open the rings, take out the page, put the two ideas together and really see how it made sense. And it really reminded me of a point that Anne Lamott made in her book Bird by Bird, about how when she had written a novel and she'd submitted it to her editor, and her editor was like, no, I'm sorry, like, you need to rework this, it's not working out. So she literally printed out, well, I think she had it printed already, but she had the manuscript physically printed, and she went into a room and she laid it out chapter by chapter. And that story kind of sums up how I feel about the ability to be able to physically move your ideas and information around like that in a smaller scale in a Filofax. I do think sometimes that ideas can get a little bit scattered and a little bit fragmented, whereas there is something really nice and really special about having a physical, tactile, hands-on approach to your ideas, especially when you're approaching something like a personal curriculum where everything is new and you're trying to follow that curiosity path and you're trying to see where things link up. And it does remind me of the Zettelkasten method of note taking, which I have been looking into, and I've gotten some really good recommendations from people who've left comments on my videos to look into that. And although that's a separate approach entirely, one of the key aspects of it is seeing where is the link between your ideas. And I do really think with the Filofax, the fact that you can physically move things around as I see fit, I can take them out, I can file them, or I can recycle them depending, and the fact that like it's so customizable, because I do think everyone's brain is so different. How my brain works will be different to how your brain works, and that's what's really amazing. So I think having that ability to customize and keep things as simplistic or keep things as creative and artsy and decorated as you want is amazing. It's the one that had no paper in it, so I've put some printouts, I have some stickers, I have a picture of my boyfriend and one of his dogs, I have a Polaroid of my cat Ziggy peeking out here, and my mum is the originator of this trend in my household, and this is one of her original Filofaxes. Now I'm not going to open it because she does have notes and stuff in it, but basically it's like she started the trend. This is my one, this is her one, and she has notes in this from when we went on our first trip to New York. I was 16, so I want to say it was 2007 roughly, and you can see here like she has the original stuff still in it and she can file that and she can keep that. But like there is a heritage aspect to these things. Like this is leather, and like look how well this is worn. My journals, my personal journals, are more so emotional work or stuff like that, so I don't necessarily want to read back on those, whereas I feel like these types of things, it's nice to have memories and very top level line details of what you might have done. I really think taking a moment just to show my mum's Filofax and knowing that there's notes in here about our trip to New York, only one liner notes because my mum wouldn't really be into deep journal work, but you know, she does like stuff like that. It just shows that things that we think are like, oh, I'm into my personal journal today or I'm going on a trip next week, they do become memories, and it's like a little snapshot of what was going on in your life. And I do think it's a way for people who might be a little bit overwhelmed about sitting down with a blank notebook and being like, dear diary, a more easier way to get into recording your life and having some really nice memories, and even a way to pass those memories down to your kids or your nieces and nephews, or even just for yourself to be able to look back on. Because, you know, if you don't write it down, you're not going to remember it. And sometimes something that seems insignificant, like the really nice croissant you might have had in New York, actually unlocks a really nice memory 20 years later when you read about it again. So all of that to say that although this video is focused on Filofax's through the personal curriculum approach, it's just a way for us to record what is going on, record what we're interested in, and depending on what we want to keep and file versus what we want to recycle. If you're a Filofax fan or if you're a planners fan, give this video a like so that I know that you enjoyed it. And do make sure you're subscribed, because I will be making more videos on the personal curriculum theme and how I have been changing that and how I've been interacting with that. As someone who works full time, because you know it can be overwhelming at times, but I do think it's worthwhile. So I will start with the personal and then I'll move through. Some of the pages I won't be able to show you because they are either showing personal details or they are for work. So I'll start with this one anyways, and put these two to the side. This is the original style Filofax, so you don't actually have the card holders in the front and you don't get the pocket piece on the top here for the personals. So I have some pens here, and then in the back piece here I have some random stationery. I have some artwork I drew and printed on my mini thermal printer. These are like little note kind of pages come through. I have some pictures of my cat. I have some thermal printer bits that I've printed from things I've seen in the charity shops, and then I have some poetry, my field notes list, more poetry and quotes. So this was kind of, as I said, the creative journal, and more poetry here. This I did have photos in, but I've since changed them over into my pocket spread. So then I have a September long list, and I have little bits that I wanted to do in September, and then I've been keeping like a day by day, just brief what I've been doing. And then I plotted in some events and stuff, more to-do list. September snapshot, it's not the prettiest. I feel like I will improve. And then my spending, so I actually write down every single thing that I spend and I log it into whatever category it goes into. So currently I do kind of keep track of this in my little pocket. So these are the basic principles for the artist's way. And then this is homework journal style for the September personal curriculum. So these are the boxes I was telling you about, all pencils so I can erase as needed. And then my reflections here. And then this is just some ideas I have for October. I do not like this page at all. I will probably redo it. It's giving me Irish flag vibes with the orange and the green, so I'll have to rework this. I did get these pages, I think, from AliExpress or Temu. I'm not too sure. I'll need to double check. And then I have my tracker. So I have my step tracker. I have all the books that I've read so far this year. My weight tracker, so you can see that I've been trying to lose some weight in a healthy way. And then I have a wish list, so everything I want to buy. So I feel like that really helps me make concerted purchases, and a lot of the items that I do write down here, on reflection, I'm like, oh, I don't actually need to buy that. And then I have a new tracker that I've made for my YouTube channel. So it's just in terms of how many subs I have and how my videos have been doing, because I do think that it's important to keep some sort of record of how you're doing with these things. And then I have some video ideas here and more ideas here. And that's basically the end of this one. This is a walled garden that me and my boyfriend visited during the summer in Ireland. It's in the Phoenix Park. It's really beautiful. I definitely recommend visiting if you are from Ireland or if you're ever in Ireland. And then I haven't really done too much else with this. So as I said, this is the planner that lives on my desk. So literally just over here, you can probably see part of my keyboard in shot here, but I tried to clear my desk as best I could. And these guys are actually printed pictures that I plan to decorate made some of my Filofaxes with. I do have a whole stack of printed pictures over here, but I might do a separate video on that because I didn't want to try and jam everything into one video. Stuff, we have the pocket size. As I said, I got this second hand from Vinted. There is a little bit of a mark on the front, but that doesn't bother me. This size, you have the and this is the Finsbury, I should have said. So this is the Finsbury, so you have your card holders and you have your zip opening at the back, and you also have like a wallet piece here. So it is quite a good size, and to be fair, I probably didn't really need my mini, but I wanted it, so I got the mini as well. So photo of my boyfriend, my cat, printed from a colour printer, but this one is from my thermal printer, but I actually coloured it in with alcohol markers. This is a sticker. This I printed, and then this is my inbox, so just to-do list stuff, more to-do list stuff. And as I said, please don't judge the scrap paper. This was before I understood how to measure properly for my Filofax, so it is very messy, but that's kind of what I was saying, that I like that there is no pressure. It can be as messy or not as messy. Some more to-do list items. Then the next section is my work stuff, so I'm not going to show you that just because I can't. So that's the work section here. That's a postcard that I cut to fit in because I just thought the colours matched really nicely. And then we get into September, and this is an insert I made. I thought it was really cute. And then we have YouTube stuff, so just kind of a list of things that I need to do for that. And then the rest of it is just scrap paper, and I have some sticky notes in the back. I have a little mini scissors, and I also have some tabs and stuff like that there. So yeah, work in progress, definitely. And then last but not least, we have the mini. So as I said, this charm came from this necklace over here, so it's been really nice just trying to upcycle stuff and not buying tons of new stuff. So I have my cards in the front here, I have some stamps, I have my ID. I did have a €5 note in here, but I have spent it. And then this I've printed from my mini thermal printer. And then, as I was saying, I actually cut up paper from a smaller notebook just because I didn't want to waste money by using the nicer Filofax paper simply for notes that aren't going to last long. So I have my to-do list, and then I have my grocery list here, and then back here I was setting up my October spread, which I haven't really started yet. And then I have some contact details for people in the back, and I have my Leap card, which is our transport card here in Ireland, and some little stickers. And in the back zip I actually do have some loyalty cards for the supermarkets here, so that's handy because I always forget them, and for some reason I don't have digital versions, so I have them, I don't know, can you see, I have them in here. It's kind of a tight squeeze, but it works. Saying I actually have tons of printed photos that I have cut on my guillotine that I want to insert, so I will just show you. Oh, I just dropped some there. I'll just show you. So it's a mix of kind of like vintage month by month ones, and then some cute artwork, so definitely has to include cats. Some are kind of a little bit tarot card inspired, I feel. This one reminds me of my cat Ziggy. I don't know if I've ever shown Ziggy on the channel, but he is a cow cat, I think they're called. So then we have September here, so I'll probably put these ones into my coral planner here. December, October, yeah, like the months. I could have like kept these in order so it made a bit of sense, but that's how it is. I really love the vintage vibe. These are basically cards that I cut to be inserts to this one, and then this cat reading here, and then you probably saw in the background I have this one, so cute. And then I have another typewriter, which is this one, and then I have a lot here that I haven't guillotine cut yet, but I just said I'd show you. So it's very much a mix of vintage kind of vibes, and then I also have the more cutesy stuff as well. So I just said I'd do a quick run through because I don't think I can record myself guillotine cutting this stuff. I think it'd be too much pressure. So yeah, a mix, because I was showing my mum and she was like, you have some really cute stuff, but you also have some kind of dark images. I was like, yeah, it's a mix. So again, there's some like Japanese inspired stuff, little ghosts kind of give me Phoebe Bridgers vibes. And then one of my friends I worked with in my previous job, so they actually are designers, I sent her a picture of a dark haired girl at a tower, and she changed her to be blonde. So I was like, okay, I have to print that as a blonde girl. And then we have these so gorgeous books and some sort of like vintage scenery, more inserts. So the teeny tiny ones are for my small mini, just really cute, and again almost tarot card inspired and so cute. So I actually have tons. I'm looking at this now and I'm like, I actually have too much. So I have some stuff for Christmas as well. So that's all the stuff I've printed. So the plan is to get this all cut up really nicely and insert across the 3 planners. So I've been having so much fun doing this, and as I said, like, I just feel like the Filofax is the perfect way to bridge being organised with fun. So creative and fun, because that's what works best for me. Definitely don't need to print anything else because I feel like I've so much stuff here, and I got all of this from Pinterest. So if anyone has any tips on resources where to get printables, that would be great. I would appreciate it, and I would love if you have any videos up yourself, or if you have an Instagram account for planning or anything like that, do let me know, because I am looking for advice and tips. And although this video is focused around Filofax, you don't need one. You can use any notebook, you can use any pen you want. It's more so getting into the habit, writing down what's coming up in your personal curriculum, and also taking a little bit of time to maybe write what you've consumed in terms of media, plan out what you want to do, what you have done. Because I just think that if you don't take the time to plan, it's not going to happen. And if you are the type of person that has many interests, sometimes it's easy to be overwhelmed and then do nothing. So I think personally, from my own personal experience, it is always best to make a little bit of time to plan, to write down and appreciate what you have done. And then if there is an area that you feel like you are not putting enough focus in, you can clearly see it and you can make those changes in order to give yourself that time to enjoy and dive into whatever. Let me know in the comments which of my Filofax is your favourite, or if you have one yourself, and definitely subscribe if you would like to see more about personal curriculums, my tips and tricks on how to get the most out of it, and just to find out how I'm getting on with my curriculum. As I always say here, this is a community space, so I would love to hear about how you've been getting on with your curriculum, and if you have any tips and tricks for me in terms of Filofax and planning, I'd love to hear about it. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.